Discover your voice type. If you want to find out your voice type, you're going to need a keyboard and a recording device. The keyboard will provide accuracy, and the recording device will serve as evidence, particularly for yourself when later you're trying to find out which notes you have been able to reach. You want to avoid falsetto, so focus on a fuller voice or sound, like the voice you naturally have when speaking. I would like to ask you to start on a C4, which also bears the name of middle C. Find it on your keyboard and then play it. After that, make sure you sing it as accurately as possible. When doing this, try using the vowel A, which is pronounced ah. Then try to go as low as possible in your voice as long as you are clearly heard on your lowest note. And then go on the opposite direction and try to sing as high as possible. Avoid using falsetto. Please let me know how you did in the comments below. And do not be disappointed with your results. Many things can affect them, but chances are a trained ear will always be able to give you a very accurate answer. Showing these recordings to a vocal coach or someone who has studied singing can really help them identify which voice type you might have, because we would always try to identify the different qualities of your voice, not only your singing range, but other things like your resonance, the colors, and the real nature of your voice. Believe it or not, many things can be learned from someone's timbre. Okay, so you have already done the test and you have it written down on paper. So, which voice type do you really have? Okay, so to make it really simple, I'm going to start by saying that if you have gone through male puberty and your singing voice mostly consists of your chest voice, you could be a tenor if you sing from a C3 to a C5. A baritone if your voice goes from a G2 to a G4.
Perché partirai, cannella, voi sapete quel che fa. Ma ci darem la mano, mi dirai di sì. Vedi non è lontano, partiam ben mio da qui.
Or even a bass if you go from an E2 to an E4. Now this is not a golden rule, and you will very likely find many singers who do not fit either on the higher or on the lower end of their own voice classifications. As long as you're able to consistently sing the notes that are required for your voice classification, you should be fine. Now, what happens with someone who mostly sings in falsetto or using the head voice? Or as well someone who has not gone through male puberty? Well, for the first one, you could be a countertenor. This means in your chest voice you would either sing as a tenor, baritone or bass, but your singing specializes in a technique that mostly consists of using head voice and falsetto. This would also be a male voice, but the sound you produce and the quality of the voice is completely different. It is going to be very similar to a female voice, but it is not. However, it is not yet fully possible for a countertenor to do the same acrobatic things that any other singer would be able to do not using falsetto. And a countertenor can be either a sopranist or a soprano, a mezzo soprano, or an alto or contralto. And these registers are exactly the same ones you would use for someone who has gone through female puberty or through no puberty at all, like a castrato. I will explain this later. If you have gone through female puberty, you would either end up as a soprano if you're able to sing from a C4 to a C6, a mezzo soprano or mezzo if you sing from a G3 to a G5, or an alto or contralto if you sing from an E3 to an E5.
Du
Now again, in most cases, female voices tend to be more flexible than male voices. So in most cases, they will sing either a little bit higher or lower, or both a little bit higher and lower as well. So then again, it's not a golden rule, every single voice is unique. Now I did mention the castrato register, which is not a register in itself, it's a completely different type of voice. For being able to sing with this voice, which you would also classify as either a soprano, mezzo or contralto, you would need to go through castration before hitting puberty, male puberty in this case. These young boys were castrated in order to preserve the purity of their high voices. Now, if you have studied the history of singing, you would know, of course, that castratis were the big stars of their time. Basically, their larynx were undeveloped and they remained forever in a childish state. But they did grow up, of course, and they had a bigger pulmonary capacity, meaning they were able to sustain notes for a very long period of time. Some people say that they could even sing without taking a breath for about 2 or 3 minutes. And because they also had a male physique, the resonance that was produced with this high-pitched voice was very different from the resonance a female singer would produce nowadays. So they did not sound like children, but they didn't sound like a male singer singing in falsetto as a countertenor, nor did they sound as a female singer either. They were on a completely different league, those who were able, of course, to study and to become that. Now, it is also possible for some singers not to fully develop their voices, and they would also be singing in these categories as a soprano, mezzo or alto, but not because their voices have not developed, it would make them a castrato automatically. I think actually the last castrato was recorded indeed. His name was Moreschi, but you can find this out for yourself, of course. Now, this is the point where I wanted to get. By now, I'm sure you know that biology determines to a certain extent how high or low we are going to be able to sing. We, as humans, are able to deal with this and bend nature to a certain extent, of course, because it has its limitations. We can develop a technique and use biology and the anatomy of the human body to be able to extend our registers. That is basically what we study as professional singers. But it is also very important to know that there is always going to be a natural barrier. You know, in opera there are kind of two different worlds. There is like the world of bel canto, full of acrobatic stuff, and then there is the world of the dramatic arias. Not all sets of muscles are well suited for doing acrobatic stuff, and the opposite is also true. Not all sets of muscles are well suited for singing dramatic stuff. So as you see, it's something that we really need to deal with. And in order for us to preserve a good vocal health, it is utterly important for us to know which repertoire is the best for us. That is why knowing your voice type to start with is a key step to become a great singer. Please let me know how you did in the comments below. Subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!
Small city thinking, I get why you left. Small-minded people sure know how to drink. I came to the party.